Okay, so picture this. 2 million years ago, one of our ancestors picks up a stone, cracks it against another, and right there, in that single moment, a story kicks off that leads directly to today. We didn't just invent a tool, we actually started inventing ourselves.
And yeah, it really feels like that story is reaching a terrifying climax, doesn't it? When we think about AI, our minds immediately jump to all those warnings from science fiction. The cold, creepy logic of HAL 9000, or the killer robots from the Terminator. It feels like we're on the brink of creating our own replacement.
But what if this isn't the end of our story? What if it's just the next completely logical and, maybe inevitable chapter? All right, let's really get into this, because the way we've all been thinking about AI might be fundamentally wrong.
First off, let's just acknowledge the fear. It's totally real. AI systems are showing up with a kind of autonomy we have never, ever seen in a tool before. And we're being pushed hard to plug them into every single corner of our lives. It feels completely new and, honestly, a little dangerous.
But here is the one idea that changes everything. The entire debate, this whole us versus them narrative that we're stuck in, it's all built on a really shaky idea. The assumption that humans and technology are two separate things. But what if they're not?
And that brings us to the core idea of this whole explainer. We are, and we have always been, symbiotic creatures, not just with the natural world, but with the world we build for ourselves. In biology, you are not considered a single individual organism. Nope, you're what's called a holobiont. It's a fancy word that basically means you are a walking, talking ecosystem, a massive collaboration between your human cells and trillions of tiny microorganisms. Just get a load of that number. That's 38 trillion. That's roughly how many microorganisms are living in your body right now. They help digest your food, they train your immune system, they can even influence your mood. They are not just passengers along for the ride. They are a fundamental part of you.
So, this idea completely flips the script. We aren't just these separate, individual organisms, distinct from the tools we use. We are actually integrated systems, and we are fundamentally defined by the technologies that we merge with.
Philosophers Andy Clark and David Chalmers actually gave this a name. They call it the extended mind. Think about their classic example. A man with Alzheimer's, named Otto, uses a notebook to remember things. Now, is that notebook just a tool, or has it become part of his memory, part of his actual mind? They argue it's functionally the same thing. Your smartphone? It's not just a device in your pocket. It's basically an external lobe of your brain.
So how does this integration actually happen? Well, it turns out this process follows a very predictable pattern. Every single world-changing technology eventually pulls off this incredible magic trick. It just disappears.
It always happens in 3 stages. First, there's disruption and a lot of fear. Second, there's integration, where it just becomes a normal part of life. And third, the best part, invisibility. It gets so woven into the fabric of our reality that we stop even thinking of it as technology. Think about electricity, or fire, or even language itself.
And, this pattern is not new. Our anxieties right now about AI are almost a perfect echo of fears from the past. Socrates was worried that the invention of writing would destroy our ability to remember things. The printing press was met with total panic about scribes losing their jobs and the spread of fake news. Sound familiar?
This historical pattern points to a really uncomfortable truth. Once we integrate a technology into our lives, into our society, there's really no going back. The change is permanent.
The anthropologist Michael Tomasello called this the ratchet effect. It's like a ratchet wrench that can only turn forward, click by click. Human innovation just locks itself in place. Each generation doesn't start over from scratch. They stand on this giant technological platform built by everyone who came before. We can't uninvent the wheel, and we probably can't uninvent AI.
And this is where the trade-off becomes so clear. Our tools change us. For instance, studies have shown that as people rely more and more on GPS for navigation, the part of their brain that's responsible for building mental maps, the hippocampus, it actually shrinks. We don't just use the tool literally rewires us.
Okay, so if we accept that we're symbiotic beings who are irreversibly changed by our tools, then how in the world are we supposed to think about AI? Because let's be honest, AI is a different kind of tool, a whole different beast.
A hammer, it just waits for you to pick it up. It has no goals of its own. But an AI agent, something like Cognition's Devin, is completely different. It doesn't just follow a list of instructions, it shows goal-directed behavior. It can plan, it can adapt, it can operate all on its own to solve a problem. This is a new kind of partner.
This means our relationship with AI can fall anywhere along this spectrum of symbiosis. It could be mutualistic, where we both benefit, like a doctor using an AI to make a faster, better diagnosis. Or it could be parasitic, like social media algorithms that are literally designed to get us addicted, benefiting the platform at our mental expense. Right now, we're living in a really unstable mix of all of these.
And that is exactly why our thinking has to evolve. We've got to avoid these common mental traps. The idea that we can just turn it off, that's a fallacy once our entire society depends on it. The idea that we can use it without it changing us, we've seen that's a fallacy. And maybe the biggest one of all is believing there's some natural, pure human state to go back to. There just isn't.
This whole reframing leads us to a really powerful new conclusion. The path forward isn't about control. I mean, you don't control your gut bacteria, right? You try to cultivate a healthy environment so the good ones can thrive. That's exactly how we need to start thinking about AI governance, not with an on-off switch, but with the careful wisdom of a gardener.
Because ultimately, AI is going to change us. That was pretty much decided 2 million years ago when we first picked up that stone. Change is the one constant in our long story as Homo technologicus.
So the real question we're facing now is so much more interesting and honestly, a lot more empowering. It's about what kind of partners we're going to be, what kind of symbiosis we're going to cultivate, and what kind of humans we will choose to become next.